wedding was everything I couldn't afford. Crystal glasses catching light from chandeliers worth more than my car. A string quartet played something classical I couldn't name as waiters in white gloves carried silver trays through the crowd. But none of that mattered. My son Ethan was happy. That's all I ever wanted. I stood in my rented tux, nursing a beer while Ethan's new in-laws, the Davenports, mingled with guests who arrived in cars that cost more than my house. I didn't belong here, but I smiled anyway. Dad, Ethan waved me over, his arm around Clara, his bride. Her dress probably cost more than everything I owned. There he is, I said, raising my beer in a small toast. To the happy couple. Clara's smile tightened as she looked at my beer bottle. She whispered something to Ethan, who laughed uncomfortably. What was that? I asked. Ethan shook his head. Nothing, Dad. But Clara turned to me, her diamond earrings catching the light. I said, this is a champagne wedding, not some backyard barbecue. The music seemed to dim. Faces turned our way. Clara, Ethan warned. She ignored him. Honestly, Ethan, tell your father to stop acting so low class. God, he's such a loser. The word hung in the air. Loser. Phones recorded. Guests whispered. Someone gasped. I felt the room spin slightly. 20 years of double shifts, of skipping meals so Ethan could have new school clothes, of working weekends to pay for his college applications, all reduced to that one word, loser. I looked at my son's face. He was frozen, torn between his bride and his father. I just smiled, set my beer down on a passing tray, and nodded. Congratulations again, I said quietly. Then I walked away, not running, not causing a scene, just a slow, dignified exit through the crowd that parted like I was contagious. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall, my heart hammering in my chest. The humiliation burned, but something else burned hotter. Curiosity. Because, as I walked away, I heard Clara's father, Gerald Davenport, arguing with someone by the payment office. What do you mean, declined? Run it again. I moved closer, keeping out of sight. The wedding planner's voice was hushed but clear. I'm sorry, Mr. Davenport, but your card was declined. The remaining balance is $48,000. Gerald's voice shook. That's impossible. I'm good for it. Try again. I froze, listening. The millionaire couldn't pay his daughter's wedding bill? The man who had looked down his nose at me all day was broke? Something didn't add up. And suddenly, being called a loser wasn't what bothered me anymore. It was the feeling that everyone in that ballroom was watching a play, and I was the only one who didn't have a script. I slipped around the corner, watching Gerald Davenport pace the hallway. His tailored suit and diamond watch didn't match the panic in his eyes. Sir, your account is frozen. Do you have another payment method? The wedding planner clutched her tablet nervously. Gerald ran a hand through his silver hair. Give me an hour. Make something up. I'll handle it. They disappeared into an office, and I returned to the reception, seeing everything differently now. Clara's mother, Vivian, laughed too loud with the senator's wife. Vivian's pearl necklace caught the light, but the clasp looked cheap, gold-plated, not solid. The designer bag at her feet had a crooked logo. I watched Gerald return, whispering urgently to a man I'd never seen before. Money changed hands under the table. Gerald slipped the cash to the wedding planner, who nodded stiffly. Throughout dinner, I noticed more oddities. Gerald pronounced foie gras wrong. Vivian called the Riesling a lovely Chardonnay. Clara's brother talked about his Harvard graduation in May, but Harvard's commencement was always in June. I ate silently, collecting these moments like puzzle pieces. When Ethan and Clara took to the dance floor for their first dance, I watched the Davenports. They posed, perfectly for photos. Practiced smiles, rehearsed poses, like actors hitting their marks. Beautiful family, aren't they? A woman sat beside me, following my gaze. Yes, I said. Where did you say you knew them from? Oh, Vivian and I were at Briarcliff together. Old money, the Davenports. I nodded. Which Briarcliff? The academy in New York, or the one in Virginia? She blinked. New York, of course. I smiled. Interesting, because there isn't one. Her face fell for a split second before recovering. Oh, silly me. I meant Briarwood. She quickly excused herself. Later, during the cake cutting, I overheard Clara's brother on his phone. It's going perfect. They're buying everything. The old man suspected nothing. I should have felt angry. Instead, A strange calm settled over me. These people who made me feel small were actually terrified of being exposed themselves. As the night wound down, I noticed Gerald watching me from across the room. Our eyes met, and he raised his glass in a silent toast, his smile too wide, too forced. I raised mine back, and in that moment, something shifted between us. A silent acknowledgement, a challenge. He knew that I knew something wasn't right, and now he was worried. I smiled back, a real smile this time, because the man who had everything, who let his daughter call me a loser, was sweating through his designer suit at the thought of what I might know. As I left, Gerald intercepted me by the door. "Enjoying the evening, Mr. Torres?" His handshake was firm, but his palm was damp. "Very much," I said. "It's been educational." His smile flickered. "Educational?" "Yes," I said, holding his gaze. "I've learned a lot about the Davenport family tonight." The color drained from his face. The morning after the wedding, I sat at my kitchen table, a legal pad in front of me. My small apartment felt even smaller after the grandeur of yesterday's venue. I wrote down everything I remembered. Clara said her summer home was in Provence, but pronounced it Provence. Gerald claimed to import Italian suits but wore the same one. At the rehearsal dinner, wedding, and photos, Vivian's jewelry had green discoloration near the clasps. Their stories about vacations didn't match when told to different guests. The declined credit card and secret cash payment, none of it made sense, unless everything was fake. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through photos from the wedding. In one, Gerald stood talking to the governor, but the governor seemed confused, like he didn't recognize Gerald. In another, Vivian showed off a tennis bracelet that looked different from the one she wore at the reception. Small inconsistencies, tiny threads that, when pulled, might unravel something bigger. I called my old friend Renee Alvarez. We'd met years ago when she was investigating a property fraud case at the construction company where I worked. I'd helped her find hidden documents. Now she owed me a favor. "Mike Torres, haven't heard from you in years." Her voice brought memories of late nights reviewing ledgers, connecting dots. "Hey, Renee. Still in the PI business? Still digging up dirt on the rich and shameless? What's up?" I hesitated. My son just married into the Davenport family. Wealthy, connected people. At least, that's what they say. "But you don't buy it?" She was always quick. "Something feels off. Way off. Like they're wearing borrowed lives." Renee laughed. "The rich are different, Mike. Maybe you're just seeing old money weirdness. Maybe, but I need to know for sure. For Ethan's sake." I heard typing on her end. "Davenport, Gerald and Vivian, Clara, that's them. They claim old family money, connections to senators, homes in 3 countries." More typing, then a pause. "Huh, that's strange." My heart skipped. "What?" "I'm not finding much. No property records under those names in the areas they claim. No business registrations. It's like they appeared out of thin air 5 years ago." That sinking feeling in my stomach grew. "Can you dig deeper? I'll pay your usual rates." "For you? First day's free. Consider it thanks for the Westbridge case." She paused. "But Mike, be careful. If these people are pretending to be something they're not, there's usually a reason. I just need the truth. Truth isn't always simple," she warned. "And some lies have investors, powerful ones. Are you sure you want to pull this thread?" I thought about Clara's smirk when she called me a loser. About my son's future with a family built on deception. "I'm sure. Whatever you find, I need to know. I'll call you tomorrow." "And Mike?" "Yeah, tread carefully. The most dangerous people are those with nothing to lose. And if the Davenports are faking it all, they've got everything to lose." I hung up, staring at the wedding photo of Ethan and Clara. My son looked happy, in love, unaware. Was I making a mistake by digging? Or would ignoring my suspicions be the bigger mistake? Either way, there was no going back now. 2 days crawled by. I jumped every time my phone buzzed, hoping for Renee's call. When it finally came, I was making dinner. Simple pasta, nothing fancy. "Mike? You sitting down?" Renee sounded like she was trying not to laugh. "I can be. What'd you find?" "Oh, buddy, you're gonna love this," she snorted. "Gerald Davenport isn't real." The spoon slipped from my hand, splattering sauce on the floor. "What do you mean, isn't real?" "His real name is Franklin Devereaux. He's an actor. Has an actual IMDb page with bit parts in commercials and background roles in TV shows. Nothing major, but definitely professional. I gripped the counter. An actor? Gets better. Vivian? Real name's Lila North. Also an actor. Mostly regional theater and industrial videos. They're not married in real life. The room seemed to tilt. And Clara? Ah, that's where it gets interesting. Clara Devereaux. She's Franklin's biological daughter, but not Lila's. She's done some acting too. All three are listed as members of something called the Devereaux Players Guild. I sank into a chair. They're all actors, playing a rich family. Bingo. And they're good at it. Been running this scheme for years, according to my sources. They infiltrate wealthy communities, claim to be old money, from somewhere just far enough away that no one can easily verify, then use those connections to scam people. But the wedding, it cost a fortune. The venue alone, probably paid for by previous marks. It's an investment. Spend big on the visible stuff, look legitimate, then make it back tenfold once they're in, with the right circles. My mind raced to Ethan. My son, married to a con artist. How do they get away with it? Someone must check. Most people don't. Rich folks are strange. Questioning someone's wealth is taboo. Plus the Devereaux research their marks thoroughly. They know who to avoid, who's suspicious by nature. They pick trusting victims. Like my son. Too trusting by half. I need proof, Renee. Solid evidence. Already sent to your email. Photos of Franklin in bit parts. Lila's theater programs. Clara's early audition tapes. She paused. There's more, Mike. Something weird in the timing. What? Found an old casting call. 6 months ago. Wedding scene. Upper-class family. Needed for long-term project. The description matches everything. Wealthy family. Daughter marrying into new situation. Requires sustained performance over months. My blood ran cold. Are you saying they planned this? Targeted Ethan specifically? Can't confirm that yet. But the timing lines up perfectly with when Clara first met Ethan. How did they find him? We're nobody. That's what I'm still digging into. But Mike, there's something bigger here. This isn't their first wedding scam. I found 3 other marriages in the last decade. Young men from families with potential access to something valuable. What could Ethan possibly have that they'd want? Renee's voice turned grave. That's the question, isn't it? What does your son have access to that would be worth this elaborate charade? I thought about Ethan's job at the tech startup, his college connections, our family. Nothing seemed valuable enough for this scheme. I don't know, I admitted. But I'm going to find out. I'll keep digging. Meanwhile, check your email. And Mike? Yeah? Don't confront them yet. These people are professionals. If they realize you're onto them. She didn't need to finish. We both knew what happened when cornered animals felt threatened. I'll be careful, I promised. Then a thought struck me. Wait, Renee, the mother, Lila. If she's not Clara's biological mother, then who is? Silence on the line. Renee? That's the thing, Mike. I'm still looking into it. But whoever she is, she's the reason I think this is bigger than a simple con job. Why? Because someone went to a lot of trouble to make her disappear. I spent the next week building my case, spreading printouts across my kitchen table like a detective in a crime show. Renee's evidence was damning. Tax records showing Franklin Devereaux claimed income as performer for hire. Publicity photos from community theater productions. Old acting reels where Clara practiced accents and character studies. Business registrations. For the Devereaux Players Guild. The more I discovered, the clearer the pattern became. The Devereaux family specialized in long-term deception. They'd insert themselves into wealthy communities, marry into money, extract what they could, then vanish, leaving broken hearts and empty bank accounts. Their current characters, the Davenports, were their most ambitious yet. Normally they played middle-class roles with aspirations. This time, they'd gone straight to the top. Old money aristocrats with political connections. But why target Ethan? We had no fortune, no influence. Then Ethan called, inviting me to dinner at Clara's family estate, a sprawling mansion I now knew they didn't own. Just us and her parents. Ethan said, they want to make things right after the wedding incident. I accepted, playing along. The mansion was impressive. Gated driveway, marble columns, art that looked museum quality. I recognized it now as a high-end rental property from a luxury listing Renee had found. Gerald, no, Franklin, greeted me with forced warmth. Michael, So glad you could join us. Water under the bridge, yes? I smiled, noting how his accent had subtly changed, becoming more refined since the wedding. Absolutely. Throughout dinner, I watched them perform. Vivian, Lila discussed her charity foundation with practiced passion. Gerald, Franklin name-dropped senators and CEOs. Clara laughed at inside jokes about exclusive clubs they'd never actually entered. They were good, believable. If I hadn't seen the evidence, I might have been convinced. We're taking the yacht to Santorini next month, Gerald announced. You must join us, Michael. Make it a proper family vacation. I nodded, knowing the yacht existed only in conversation. Sounds wonderful. When Clara excused herself, I noticed how Franklin's eyes followed her, not with fatherly affection but with professional assessment. They weren't family, they were colleagues. The most surreal part? I almost admired their craft. The subtle ways they mirrored each other's mannerisms, the carefully planted props around the house, the consistent backstories. This wasn't amateur deception. It was performance art. After dinner, while Vivian showed Ethan family photos I now knew were staged, Gerald pulled me aside to his study. Michael, he said, pouring expensive scotch. I want to apologize for Clara's behavior at the wedding. She was nervous. We raised her better. I sipped the scotch, savoring the moment. No need to apologize. We all wear masks sometimes, don't we? Something flashed in his eyes. Recognition. Fear. Before his performer's smile returned. Indeed we do. We rejoined the others, and I watched Ethan. Happy, trusting, in love with an illusion. Part of me wanted to shake him, show him the evidence. Another part hesitated. Exposure would destroy him. Later, as I left, Clara kissed my cheek. Good night, father-in-law. Her performance was flawless. Mine was improving. That night, Renee called again. Mike, I found something you need to see. About Clara's birth mother. Who is she? Her name's Vanessa Keller. And here's the kicker. She's currently serving 20 years for investment fraud. Clara was 10 when her mother went to prison. So, that's why Franklin raised her alone. And taught her the family business. But there's more. Her voice dropped. Vanessa Keller worked at Meridian Technologies before her arrest. My heart stopped. Mike, you there? Ethan's company. He works at Meridian's security division. The silence between us hummed with realization. This isn't about money, I said finally. It's about access. The next morning, a thick manila envelope arrived from Renee. Inside, everything about Clara's real mother, Vanessa Keller. 20 years ago, Vanessa had worked in Meridian Technologies' accounting department. She'd been convicted of attempting to steal proprietary software worth millions. The evidence suggested she'd been working with outside partners who were never caught. Those partners had vanished with their identities scrubbed clean, just like the Devereaux family did after each con. The pieces clicked together with terrifying clarity. Clara hadn't randomly met Ethan at that coffee shop 6 months ago. She'd targeted him specifically because he worked in Meridian's security division, the same company her mother had tried to steal from decades earlier. Ethan had access to the building, to the systems, to everything Vanessa and her partners had failed to reach. I called Renee immediately. It's a long game, she confirmed. Vanessa goes to prison, but never reveals her partners. 20 years later, her daughter marries into the exact position needed to finish the job. But why wait so long? The software Vanessa targeted was ahead of its time then. Today, it's worth billions. Quantum encryption protocols that Meridian developed are now the backbone of global banking security. I felt sick. So Clara marries my son to help steal software that could break into banks worldwide? That's my guess. The honeymoon is in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks alone, with Ethan's company laptop, his passwords, his access cards. And the brunch tomorrow? Why host that? Perfect alibi. While everyone's celebrating publicly, someone else could be using whatever information they've already gathered from Ethan. I sat heavily on my couch. I need to tell him. Not without proof he'll believe. Clara will deny everything, make you look paranoid. You need something undeniable. She was right. Ethan was in love. He wouldn't accept paperwork and theories. Send me everything, I said, and see if you can find out who else is involved. Clara, Franklin, and Lila can't be working alone on something this big. After hanging up, I checked my email. Renee had already forwarded the final piece of evidence, a video file labeled Meridian Initiative. Casting. I clicked play. Clara appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like an audition room. Slate your name and role. An off-camera voice instructed, Clara Devereaux, auditioning for tech wife in the Meridian Initiative. My blood ran cold. And why are you right for this role? The voice asked. Clara's smile turned calculating. Nothing like the warm expressions she showed Ethan. Because I understand the motivation. This isn't just acting, it's justice. That company destroyed my mother's life. Taking what they owe us isn't theft, it's balance. The video continued, showing Clara rehearsing lines about loving a tech guy named Eric, clearly the role that would become Ethan. I saved everything to a USB drive, heart pounding. This wasn't just a con anymore. It was revenge, personal, dangerous. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Don't forget brunch tomorrow, 11 a.m. Clara says, wear something nice. Her parents are making a big announcement. I stared at the message, then at the USB drive in my hand. Tomorrow would be a performance, all right, but not the one they were expecting. The penthouse took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city skyline, crystal and gold everywhere, white roses arranged in towering displays. All rented, all fake, all perfect. I arrived in a simple navy suit, carrying a gold-wrapped box. Inside, 5 tablets, each loaded with the same presentation, remotely synchronized to my phone. Clara greeted me with a kiss that didn't reach her eyes. Michael, so glad you could come. Ethan hugged me, happier than I'd seen him in years. Dad, isn't this place amazing? The Davenports know how to throw a party. Franklin approached, champagne flutes in hand. Michael, no beer today, I promise. He winked, referencing the wedding incident. I smiled back. I'm adapting to the champagne life. 20 guests mingled around the brunch buffet. Business associates, a judge, 2 tech executives from competing companies, strategic invitees, all potential marks or useful connections. As servers poured mimosas, Franklin tapped his glass. Before we eat, we have gifts for our new family member. Lila presented Ethan with a Rolex. Welcome to the family, darling. Then Clara turned to me, perfect smile in place. And for my father-in-law, a peace offering. She handed me a small envelope. Inside, a first-class ticket to Paris, so you can visit our summer home in Provence, she explained, pronouncing it correctly this time. They'd been practicing. Thank you, I said. I have something for all of you too. I opened my gold box, passing out the tablets. A modern family album. I've been collecting memories. Franklin frowned slightly. How thoughtful. Everyone has one, I asked, moving to the center of the room. Great. Let's watch together. I tapped my phone. The tablets synchronized, each screen lighting up with the same title. Meet the Davenports. Or should I say, the Devereaux Players Guild. Clara dropped her champagne. The glass shattered. The presentation continued mercilessly. Franklin's acting reel, Lila's community theater playbills, the rental agreement for the family mansion, Clara's audition video. The room fell silent except for gasps and murmurs. Dad, what is this? Ethan's voice cracked. I turned to him. The truth, son. They're actors, professional con artists. Franklin stepped forward. This is absurd. Michael has clearly fabricated. Save it, Franklin, I said. Or should I use your real stage name? The FBI has been watching you since Tampa. Since the Whitmore family. I was bluffing, but his face paled. A hit. Ethan, Clara pleaded. Don't listen to him. Your father's jealous. He's always resented people with more what? I cut in. More fake jewelry, more rented furniture, more lines to memorize. I turned to the final slide. Clara's casting video for Tech Wife, where she mentioned Meridian Technologies and her mother. You married my son to steal from his company, I said quietly, to finish what your mother started. The room erupted. Guests backed away from the Davenports. Someone was calling security. Ethan stared at Clara, devastation in his eyes. Tell me it's not true. Her face hardened, the mask finally dropping. She looked at me with pure hatred, then screamed, You have no idea what we went through, what they took from us. In that moment, Clara Devereaux showed her true self. Not the poised socialite, but the angry daughter of a convicted felon, raised in the art of deception. Ethan turned and walked out, shoulders shaking. As security arrived, I watched the elaborate production the Devereaux had staged collapse around them. curtain call had come earlier than expected. The next 48 hours passed in a blur. Security escorted the Devereaux from the building while guests recorded everything on their phones. By nightfall, number fake rich wedding was trending nationwide. I sat in my apartment, watching the fallout spread across social media. The videos were everywhere. Clara screaming, Franklin trying to maintain composure, Lila frantically gathering their belongings. Renee called with updates. Meridian Technologies is conducting a full security audit. They found keyloggers on Ethan's work laptop and evidence someone accessed secure servers using his credentials. Have they arrested the Devereaux? That's the thing. They've disappeared. Cleared out of their rental properties, abandoned their phones. Professional, vanishing act. I wasn't surprised. Disappearing was their specialty. Ethan had checked into a hotel, refusing to talk to anyone. The marriage wasn't yet legally recorded. Small mercy in the chaos. My phone kept buzzing with reporters seeking interviews. I declined them all. Late that night, someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Renee standing there, holding a thick file. "You should see this," she said, spreading documents across my table. The Devereaux weren't working alone. They had investors. The papers revealed a network of former associates of Vanessa Keller, people who'd been waiting 20 years for revenge against Meridian Technologies. They funded the whole operation, Renee explained. The mansion rental, the wedding, everything. Over $500,000 invested to get access to software worth billions. Did they get what they wanted before we exposed them? Renee shook her head. Doesn't look like it. Ethan's clearance only got them partway into the system. They needed another week. I should have felt relieved, but all I felt was hollow. My son's happiness had been collateral damage in a revenge plot started before he was born. There's more, Renee said, pulling out her laptop. We found Clara's full audition tapes. There's something you should see. She played a video of Clara sitting in that same audition room, but this time she looked younger, less polished. I hate this screen, Clara said, eyes downcast. Daddy says we have to do one more job, the big one, and then we can stop. I just want a normal life. A male voice off camera. You'll do what you're told. Remember what happened to your mother? Clara flinched. I know. I'll do it right. The video ended. When was this recorded? I asked. 4 years ago. Different job, same tactics. But look at her. She's terrified. I stared at the frozen image of Clara's face. For the first time, I saw her as a victim too. Raised in a family business she couldn't escape. What happens now? I asked. The FBI's involved. Not just for the attempted theft, but for multiple fraud cases across state lines. Franklin's got warrants in 3 states. Rain began pattering against my windows. I felt strangely empty. Justice didn't taste as sweet as I'd imagined. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Clara's face when her mask finally dropped. Not just anger, but relief. As if being exposed was a kind of freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but you have no idea what's coming. This was never just about software. I showed Renee the next morning. Could be anyone, she said, but her expression was worried. But maybe, this isn't over. Before she could explain further, my phone rang. Ethan, Dad, his voice was rough from crying. Can I come over? I need to talk to you. Of course, son. I hung up, staring at the rain-streaked window. The performance had ended, but the aftermath was just beginning. And somewhere, out there, the Devereaux family was planning their next act. Ethan arrived at my apartment, soaked from the rain, eyes red and swollen. He looked younger somehow, vulnerable like when he was a child. I made coffee while he sat at my kitchen table, staring at the evidence Renee had left behind. How long did you know? He finally asked. Not until after the wedding. I started noticing things that didn't add up. And you didn't tell me right away? I sat across from him, choosing my words carefully. Would you have believed me? If I'd shown you papers and videos without context? Or would you have thought I was trying to sabotage your happiness? He flinched. I would have believed her over you. Exactly. Silence stretched between us. Did she ever love me? His voice broke on the question. I thought about the audition videos, the practiced lines, the calculated meetings, but I also remembered how she looked at him when she thought no one was watching. Moments of genuine warmth amid the performance. I don't know, son. People can fake a lot of things, but sometimes real feelings slip through the cracks of a performance. Ethan's shoulders shook. I gave her access to everything. My laptop, my key card, my passwords. I was so stupid. You weren't stupid. You were trusting. There's a difference. Meridian might fire me. They won't. You're a victim, not an accomplice. Besides, you helped them identify vulnerabilities in their security protocols. He almost smiled at that. Silver linings, Dad? Really? Sometimes that's all we get. Rain drummed against the windows as we sat in companionable silence. The evidence of the Devereaux's deception surrounded us. Photos, videos, financial records. But the pain they'd caused couldn't be captured on paper. I keep thinking about what she said at the end. Ethan murmured, "You have no idea what we went through." What did she mean? I hesitated, then showed him the video of Clara's earlier audition, where she looked frightened and reluctant. "I think she was trapped in this life," I said. "Her mother in prison, raised by Franklin, to continue the family business. That doesn't excuse what she did." "No, but it might explain it." Ethan stared at the frozen image of Clara's younger face. "Oh, I thought I knew her." "We never fully know anyone, son. We just know the parts they choose to show us." He gathered the documents, stacking them neatly. "I wanted to hate you when you exposed them. It felt like you were destroying my happiness out of spite. And now I understand. Sometimes truth hurts worse than lies, but we need it anyway." He stood, looking stronger than when he'd arrived. "I should go. I have a meeting with Meridian's security team tomorrow." At the door, he paused. "Dad?" "Yeah? When the curtain falls? That's when we see what's real, isn't it?" I nodded, my throat tight. "That's right." After he left, I sat alone in my quiet apartment, thinking about masks and performances and the courage it takes to face truth. My phone buzzed with a notification, an invitation to speak at a community center. The topic, recognizing financial fraud. The location made me pause. It was the same church hall where the wedding had taken place. Life's strange symmetry never ceased to amaze me. As I contemplated accepting, another text arrived. This one from Renee. "Need to talk. Found something about Franklin's background. He's not who we thought either." 1 year later, I stood in the same church hall where my son had been married. The chandeliers still hung from the ceiling, but instead of wedding decorations, there were simple folding chairs arranged in a circle. My hands trembled slightly as I faced the group, 20 people who'd come for the weekly meeting of financial fraud survivors. "My name's Michael," I began, "and 1 year ago, my son married a woman who called me a loser at their wedding reception." Sympathetic murmurs rippled through the group. That insult led me to uncover a family of con artists who'd spent decades targeting vulnerable people. They were professionals who created elaborate false identities and played their roles perfectly. I glanced at Ethan, sitting supportively in the back row. He'd recovered slowly, throwing himself into his work at Meridian. They'd promoted him to head of their new security protocols division. Lessons learned the hard way, as he put it. The Devereaux family was never caught. I continued. They disappeared with new names, new faces, new targets. The FBI still has active warrants, but con artists this sophisticated rarely stay visible for long. What I didn't say was what Renee had discovered in those final days, that Franklin Devereaux wasn't the mastermind we'd assumed. He was following orders from someone higher up, someone still out there, pulling strings. But I didn't come here to talk about them. I came to talk about what happens after the deception ends. I looked around the circle at faces marked by similar experiences, people who'd trusted and been betrayed, who'd lost money, reputation, relationships. When someone calls you a loser, when they make you feel small or foolish or worthless, that's about them, not you. It took me a long time to learn that. Rain began pattering against the windows, the same rain that had fallen the night after the confrontation, the night Ethan had come to me broken but ready to rebuild. Dignity isn't something others can take from you. It's something you reclaim when you stop needing their approval. After the meeting, people lingered, sharing stories. A woman approached me, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "My husband emptied our accounts and disappeared last year," she said. "Everyone told me I should have known, should have seen the signs. Your story helped me realize I wasn't stupid, I was just trusting." As the room cleared, Ethan joined me by the windows, watching the rain. "Any word from Renee?" he asked. I shook my head. Renee had gone deep undercover 3 months ago. tracking leads on the network behind the Devereaux. Her last message had been cryptic, bigger than we thought. Watch your back. Do you think they'll ever face justice? Ethan asked. Maybe not the kind with handcuffs and courtrooms, I said. But there are other kinds of justice. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. Michael Torres. You think exposing one family ended this? You've only seen the first act. I showed Ethan, who frowned. Should we be worried? Should we be worried? I considered the threat, then deleted it. No. Whoever they are, they thrive on fear and secrecy. We've already taken that power away. As we left the church hall, the rain suddenly stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, turning puddles to gold. Ethan laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in months. Look at that timing, very cinematic. I smiled, thinking about performances and scripts, and the unexpected ways life wrote its own stories. The man once called a loser had exposed the truth. The bride had fled her own performance. The curtain had fallen, and somehow, improbably, we were still standing. For now, that was enough. But somewhere in the city, I knew, someone was writing the sequel. And this time, we'd be ready when the curtain rose again.